What's going on, YouTube? In today's YouTube video, we'll be talking about how to get better gas mileage on your vehicle. Now, first things first, let's talk about something that everyone should do. Every car has a trip meter, right? One trip meter should be for your gas, and the other trip meter should be for your oil changes. So you got typically A and B. I typically use A for fuel, B for oil. Now let me get into that. As far as the oil, once I get an oil change, I set it to 0. As far as A goes for the fuel, whenever I fill up my tank all the way, I set it up to 0. And then when I drive and I need to fill up again, I'll fill up the tank, and whatever gallons I put in, I'll look at how many miles I did for that tank, and I'll divide that by how many gallons I got. And that's how I get a real calculation of how much miles per gallon I got on my vehicle. Everyone should do this, because if something is off, you'll know it because you see it, right? So if your car gets normally 18 miles to the gallon and then it drastically went down to 12 miles to the gallon, you know, you'll come to the conclusion, oh, I've been doing a lot more city driving than highway driving. Or if you lent out your car to somebody, you'll know that that person pretty much abused your car and joyrided the shit out of your car. So I feel like everyone should do this. So A for gas, B for oil, or vice versa, whatever floats your boat. All right, now moving on to getting better gas mileage. Now I routinely do this, and it's something I do. I've learned it from my dad, and yeah. So obviously before the whole gas price went up thing, I would drive obnoxiously fast and obnoxiously. And a full tank of gas would last me 250 miles. But my radar detector, which is a device that tells you where the cops are to prevent you from getting a speeding ticket, I felt invincible driving fast with it, crapped out on me. Obviously, I started doing the speed limit. And when I filled up my tank, I noticed that my gas consumption started going up, and a tank of gas would last me 350 miles. So it went from 250 miles to 350 miles. So that's a 100-mile difference, which is a lot of savings, which is really, really good. So then I was like, wait a minute, gas prices are soaring high. Maybe I could do a little bit more on, getting better gas mileage out of my vehicle. So I started implementing what's called hypermiling. Hypermiling is a terminology used for people that, do various things to get better gas mileage. Don't overfill your tires. Don't do any of that. This is what you do, okay? The biggest method of hypermiling is utilizing the gas pedal. The less gas you press, the better gas mileage you'll get, okay? That's the biggest one, right? If you hit it, if you full throttle it, all that stuff, they call it abrupt acceleration. No, what that means is if you hit the gas a lot, you'll use up a lot more gas. So when I was hypermiling, I would feather the gas, just barely feathering the gas, getting up to speed. So that was one thing. 2, utilizing the car's momentum, right? So let's just say I just enter a block, and further up is a light, a traffic light, and I see it turn red, and I'm up to speed. I'll let go of the gas, and I'll cruise to this red light using the car's momentum. And yeah, that, instead of hitting the throttle or maintaining the throttle till you get to the red light and then you hit the brakes. Another thing, while on the highway, You know, if you're going downhill, just let go of the gas. Use a car's momentum and gravity and speed to cruise, because as you're cruising, you're basically you're not wasting any gas. The car's essentially an idle, right? So that's another method. So then I started cleaning my mass airflow sensor. Mass airflow sensor is a sensor that senses how much air is coming in to the vehicle, and if that gets dirtied up, it will miscalculate the air to fuel ratio, and it will tend to give out more fuel than needed. So it's a very simple thing. You take it out, spray it, you don't touch it, you let it dry out for like 10 minutes because it's super fast drying, and you put it back in. Yeah, there's videos on how to do that. And that dramatically increased my miles per gallon. Then I installed a catback exhaust and a cold air intake. I'm not going to tell you what make, model. Pretty much all of them are essentially the same. The only thing I recommend is, if you're going to get a cold air intake, don't get one that like tubes down to the bottom of the vehicle. You want the cold air intake as high as possible, just in case you drive through like a puddle. It won't vacuum all that water in and seize up your engine. So you want it as high as possible. Mine's personally, it utilizes the same route as like the manufacturer's OEM, original equipment manufactured thing, but all it is instead of that paper filter, it's a cone, and you clean it, and it's not oil based. I hate oil based cone filters, and I clean that every 10,000 miles in conjunction of cleaning my mass airflow sensor. I always make sure that my tire pressures are up to par. You could find out how much PSI your car needs by looking at what the door says on the driver's seat. You open it, it tells you front tire should be this much PSI, the rear tire should be this much PSI. So I bought this thing. It's like an air compressor that plugs into the cigarette adapter. And all that does is you set up how much PSI you want, you plug it in, you start it, and once it reaches that PSI, it automatically stops. Because winter, summer, because of the air and atmospheric pressure, yada, 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 tire pressure goes down. I don't know why. All I know is it periodically goes down. And I'm sure anyone that's been driving for a while will notice this. And I hate going to the gas station to fill up, because you got to pay $1, and then you got to keep utilizing the tire gauge, and you'll get to like 3 tires, and then 1 tire will be neglected because you ran out of time. So I spent like $30-40 on an air compressor. So I made sure that all my tires were up to par with manufacturer specs. And that's it. That's all. So all this equated to 500 miles to the tank. Okay, I shit you not. So I went from 250 miles when I was driving obnoxiously, to 350 miles to just doing the speed limit, to 500 miles just hypermiling it. And I ain't complaining. I love it. I'm getting about like 36 miles to the gallon, and the manufacturer's sticker price, the manufacturer says that my car gets 33 miles to the gallon, but now I get 36 miles to the gallon. And I live in New York City. So that's a lot of traffic, stop and go, and I'm quite pleased at this hypermiling method. And I hope this video helps you get better gas mileage, because the more miles you get per gallon equates to less money spent at the tank, and it makes a dramatic difference. So I went from paying, $320 a month to $160 a month. So I just saved $160 because I doubled my miles per gallon. We just reached the 10-minute point. I know I said at the beginning of the video I'll get to the point, but sorry, not sorry. I had to say it to the point. A lot of people talk nonsense, but I talk in layman's terms, so I hope you get the gist. If you got any questions, comment below. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.